following my son's school day, leading to our current situation in the emergency room to address his potential anaphylactic shock. Just yesterday, my son returned from school visibly distressed. When I inquired about his day, he's 8 and still shares such things. He revealed a troubling incident at lunch. A classmate had been taunting him about his peanut allergy, accusing him of pretending and threatening to smear peanut butter on him as proof. My son defended his condition, warning that even slight contact could be lethal. The bully dismissed his concerns, expressing indifference to the potential consequences. Thankfully, after my son reported this to a teacher and the cafeteria supervisor, both of whom are aware of his allergy, they stepped in to prevent any harm. We had a serious conversation about the importance of seeking help from adults in such situations and avoiding retaliatory actions. Then, we approached a more challenging topic. I recognize that my next advice might not sit well with everyone, and I'm open to differing views. However, I stand by my decision to teach my son about self-defense and the importance of standing up for himself. After discussing the importance of always choosing the right path and avoiding conflict, I mentioned to him that there are times when, as a last resort, one might need to take actions they wouldn't normally consider to ensure their safety. When he asked for clarification, I explained that if someone is just using words to taunt, it's best to walk away. However, if the situation escalates to physical threats like someone attempting to smear peanut butter on him, then he should defend himself with a firm hand strike to the throat, a sort of throat chop, and only continue if the aggressor persists. The scenario I dreaded unfolded this afternoon when the school's principal called to inform me that my son had been involved in an altercation and needed to be picked up. Without details over the phone, I suspected what had happened. Arriving at the school, I found my son in the office crying. Ignoring the principal initially, I went straight to him to understand what occurred. He told me the bully had threatened him with peanut butter on his fingers and had actually smeared some on his arm. Upon seeing his swollen arm and confirming he wasn't struggling to breathe, just shaken, I was interrupted by the principal. She expressed concern over my son's physical response to being smeared with peanut butter, stating that children engaging in such actions isn't uncommon, but it would result in a suspension. Despite the gravity of the situation, a part of me felt a slight reassurance, knowing he had stood up for himself in a moment of threat. It became clear to me that the principal was not fully aware of the severity of a peanut allergy, so I interjected to ask my son if he had warned the bully about his allergy before taking action. He confirmed he had repeatedly told the bully to stop, emphasizing his allergy to peanut butter, but the bully persisted in his threats. The principal appeared taken aback by this revelation. Requesting to view the cafeteria surveillance footage, we clearly saw my son vocalizing his warnings and trying to distance himself from the bully. The moment the bully made physical contact, my son's response was instinctual. He managed to pull off a defensive move, a clothesline, that took the bully to the ground, after which he sat down, overwhelmed and in tears. I then firmly stated to the principal that if my son was not allowed to return to school the following day, I would consider legal action for the endangerment of my son's life. I mentioned that, assuming there were no further complications from the peanut exposure, I was inclined not to press charges against the school or the bully, hoping the incident served as a sufficient lesson. After ensuring no immediate allergic reaction was present, albeit it had been some time since the exposure, I decided to take my son to the ER for a thorough checkup. Shortly after, I received a call from the superintendent of the school board. They informed me that the board had decided my son could return to school the next day, acknowledging the circumstances of the incident. Update: the meeting I attended, contrary to my initial belief of meeting with the school board based on the phone call, was actually with the principal and a legal representative from the school board. I brought my lawyer along, and before the meeting we had outlined my primary objectives. 1. Implementing a strategy to prevent allergens from coming into contact with my son. 2. Ensuring the student in question could not harm my son again. I was also keen on understanding why the principal was previously uninformed about my son's allergy, especially since there was an initial suggestion of suspension. During the meeting, the lawyers engaged in some preliminary legal discussions while the principal and I listened. When it was my turn to speak, I directly addressed my concerns regarding allergen management and the safety of my son. Additionally, I questioned why the principal hadn't taken the time to fully evaluate the situation before proceeding with disciplinary action. The principal's response was that she had been informed by the monitor that the substance involved was almond butter, not peanut butter, leading her to underestimate the severity of the situation. While I could see her reasoning, it didn't alleviate my concerns or change the fact that my son's safety was compromised. Getting straight to the point. The student who bullied my son has been transferred to another school. I don't have the means to discover which school he's been sent to, nor am I interested in finding out. The cafeteria monitor responsible during the incident has been dismissed. This wasn't shared in the meeting, but my son's teacher informed me later, explaining that the monitor was distracted by her phone when the trouble began, which led to the situation escalating. Following suggestions from a friend and many supportive messages, I advocated for an allergy-free table at our school, a request that was granted. I've been informed that this policy will extend across the district, offering a safe dining space for students with allergies, where their and their peers' lunches are checked for allergens. Now for the unexpected developments. It appears the bully did use almond butter, not peanut butter, on my son. Last night, the bully's parents, having learned of our address through a mutual acquaintance, came to our home. Their son, showing remorse, wanted to personally apologize to my son, a gesture I welcomed. In our living room, the boy broke down, expressing his regret over his actions. My son, moved by the apology, also became emotional, stating he hadn't wanted to resort to violence and offered his forgiveness. Upon the parents' inquiry, their child shared that he enjoys both peanut and almond butter, often bringing them to school for different snacks. He admitted to pretending to threaten my son with peanut butter, aiming to scare him by applying a small amount to his fingers. However, he clarified that he had wiped it off before using almond butter from his sandwich, which was what he actually had on his hands during the altercation with my son. The mild allergic reaction my son experienced likely resulted from residual peanut traces, suggesting even a minimal contact could provoke a response. I questioned the child on his understanding of peanut allergies. Impressively, his parents had educated him on the matter, and he could articulate the serious consequences, including breathing difficulties. This moment served as an educational opportunity, prompting me to demonstrate the use of an EpiPen, a device we've previously used for educational purposes, explaining its critical role in treating anaphylactic reactions. This visual aid helped reinforce the severity and potential dangers of allergic reactions. I proceeded to hand him the EpiPen training device, instructing him on its proper placement and activation process. While I made it clear it was a trainer, part of me hesitated, pondering the impact of not disclosing this fact. However, I chose transparency, recognizing that resorting to deception would lower me to the same level as the child before me. His startled reaction to the training device's activation was evident, marked by a notable jump and a display of fear. The child's parents offered their apologies once more, as did he. I acknowledged their remorse, expressing that I believed a valuable lesson had been learned, hence I saw no need to pursue further action against them. Despite anticipating criticism for this decision, I felt it was the right course. As they prepared to leave, my son unexpectedly embraced the child, wishing him well and hoping the incident hadn't caused too much trouble for him. When asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, I declined. My refusal stems from a desire to keep my options open should we face a similar situation in the future. For now, I've chosen to let the matter rest, trusting that the incident has served as a meaningful learning experience for all involved.